Now that we've completed our research design and we know what we're looking for and how we're going to look for it, it's time for the real fun and hard work to begin. We're ready to hit the field. For some projects, that may mean excavating, but for other projects, fieldwork may not involve digging, but could mean mapping above-ground features, using ground-penetrating radar to detect soil anomalies, or recording rock art such as petroglyphs. No matter how fieldwork is carried out, the archaeologist's task is to document the context of whatever we find. Let's take a look at this ceramic pot. On Tuesday, we talked about how objects tell stories, but there's only so much that a single artifact, out of context, tells us. Imagine if you found this pot in a grave. What would the story be then? Now imagine instead you found the pot in this context on the left. A different story emerges. Or what about finding the pot in the context on the right side of the slide? The story changes yet again. Context is everything. Let's say you and a friend are investigating this old house. You're looking around the outside of the house when your friend goes inside for a bit. Your friend comes back outside and hands you this artifact. And then they ask you, "Where do you think I found this?" What would you say? Now they hand you a second artifact that they found in the same room. Now what do you think? And now they give you a third object. Are you getting a better idea of what room this could be? I bet that the toothbrush really helped. The point is that the more artifacts you find, the more you're able to make inferences about their context. Let's try it again. Let's say your friend comes out first with this object. You're probably thinking bathroom again. But let's say your friend gives you this collection of objects, what we would call an assemblage of artifacts in archaeology. Suddenly, the toothbrush lends itself to a different interpretation because it's been found in proximity to these tools and a gas can. Now we're not thinking bathroom so much anymore. Now maybe it's something like a garage or a basement. Again, context is everything, and each artifact has to be understood in relationship to each other. This is why when archaeologists are conducting field work, we take meticulous notes about where everything is found. Remember back to our sampling exercise? We learned how useful grids can be. Here you can see an example of the excavation of individual test units on a grid. Each square test unit is given an ID number that is then recorded on the master site map. The archaeologists will excavate the soil in layers, carefully scraping the surface of the soil with their shovels and cleaning up the walls with their trowels. In fact, digging is a bad description of what we do. It's not like we're digging up a garden bed. Note how carefully these units have been uncovered. Only little bits of soil are being removed at a time. The archaeologists will use dustpans and buckets to carry the soil over to screens. Here you can see some folks screening at a different archaeological site on the left. The soil will fall through the screens, leaving rocks, bugs, worms, organic matter, and artifacts in the screen. The person screening will bag any artifacts that they find and will label their bag with their site name, test unit ID, the soil level where they found the artifact, and their name. That bag's label becomes really important. It carries information that we call provenience in archaeology. And that provenience allows us to document and understand the original context of the artifacts when we go to analyze them in the lab. So once we're done with our fieldwork, we'll move into our labs and start analyzing our artifact assemblage. You had some practice yesterday making observations and inferences about artifacts. So today we'll introduce another step to the process. And that step is classification. This is simply making observations about certain artifact attributes and then organizing the artifacts into categories. For instance, this sock drawer has been organized by the attribute of color. We classify artifacts to help us make inferences or decisions more quickly and efficiently. Obviously, this organized sock drawer makes it pretty easy to find your dark red socks. Let's say that this was our artifact assemblage. How would you classify these items? How many of you chose by color or by shape, or about whether they had fins, or maybe the number of doors? Well, those are all viable classification strategies. But what we need to do is to make sure that our classification strategy helps us to answer our research questions. Let's say that our research question was, how did trends in automobile paint change over time? Now we have some direction for our classification system. Classifying the cars based on number of doors becomes irrelevant. Rather, we're going to want to classify on attributes such as color, whether the paint is sparkly, satin, or matte, or even by the chemical composition of the paint. So you can see how our research question drives every step of archaeological inquiry, from our design to the field and to the lab. Okay, now it's your turn to conduct some field work and analyze some artifacts. We're going to excavate Mount Independence, shown here on this black and white aerial photograph. Some of the trails that you hiked earlier with Ennis are displayed in brown. This field season, we're going to focus on the southern end of the landform. We will have 4 fieldwork teams, each working on a different set of research questions and excavating different areas of the mount. There will be the red hospital team, the blue housing team, the green quartermaster team, and the yellow battery team. When you're done watching this video, you will find a table in Canvas that will show which team you've been assigned to. Let me walk you through how this will work. So here I am back in Canvas. Here's the video that you're watching right now, and below the video you'll find your instructions for carrying out the virtual excavation activity. Step 1 is to find your name in the table below in order to discover which team you've been assigned to. Here I have an example table for right now using some of our faculty members. Let's say you're Jason Barney. You'll find your name in the table. You'll see which team you've been assigned to, in this case the hospital, and you'll also find which locus you've been assigned to. Locus is just a fancy name for a specific area on a site. So in this case, Jason is in the hospital team and assigned to locus B. The second step is to download the Artifact Catalog Excel file, or the PDF version if you prefer to print. This is going to be the file that you use to record all of the artifacts that you excavate. So let me just show you how to download. You click on the link. In Canvas, it will open up a preview of the Excel file. It looks pretty small, and that's because it's empty. Go ahead and click Download in the top right. This will then download the file to your computer. You can go ahead and open it. It will open in Excel. You can use Google Sheets too if you prefer. And then on my version of Excel, I always have to click Enable Editing in this yellow bar at the top. Okay, this is what our artifact catalog file looks like. I'm going to come back to this. You're going to want to have it handy while you're doing this activity. When I'm back here in Canvas, I just click Close in the top right. Brings me back to Canvas. If you prefer to print out the empty artifact catalog form so that you can write using a pen or a pencil while you're doing the activity, that's fine too. You're not going to have to upload the file. This is purely for you to have handy while you're doing the activity, and then you're going to be referring to your artifact catalog that you've completed during the synchronous session. So in order to download the PDF version, you're going to click on the download link icon next to PDF version. Once you click on that link, it will download to wherever your browser is set up to download files on your computer. When I open it up, I then have a PDF, and I can go ahead and print it to my printer. Okay, it's time to go out to the field. That's step 3. We're going to follow this link to access that site map that I just showed you. And then you'll be finding your team on the map. So let's go there now. I'm going to click on this link, and it's going to bring me to this map here. So going back to the example of Jason Barney, remember he was assigned to the hospital team. So he would be clicking on the hospital icon. And here he'll be able to read more about the team's research questions. Make sure you read these. You might want to jot these down on a little field notebook and keep them handy as you're working through the exercise. Remember how important those research questions are for guiding every step of our analysis. Once you've read your research questions, go ahead and click on the link to go to your Fieldwork site. This will open up a view like this. This is showing us a LiDAR map of this area of Mount Independence. And this is a real view of this area of the landscape. So this is the hospital team. Obviously, the area that we've chosen is the area of the presumed hospital. You'll notice that the LiDAR imagery allows us to see the topography of the landform, even though today it's forested. And in fact, you'll note you can see this rectangular depression here that stands out really dramatically on the LiDAR. Okay, so on this map, you'll notice some black icons and some red icons. And if you're part of the blue team, your icons will be blue, yellow team, yellow, green, green. The A, B, and C are the locus or loci that each team member will be investigating. The black icons give you some further information that will allow you to make certain observations about your field site. The eyes will give you some information. You might want to take some notes. And the cameras, when you click on it, will open up a 360-degree image or photograph of this area of your site. This is the real spot in Mount Independence right there. So remember that rectangular depression? Well, I can go look at it. In a 360-degree photograph, I simply click on the photo and I drag in order to move myself around. And you can see, here's that depression that we could see on that LiDAR imagery. It really stands out on the landscape, doesn't it? And you'll notice that there are a couple clues here noted by the magnifying glass icon that you can hover over to learn more. And these little clues, again, you might want to take note of in your field notebook because it might help you with your group's interpretation later on during the synchronous session. You'll also note that as we move around in this 360-degree photo, we'll find our letters. Again, these are the loci that people have been assigned to. Okay, we've looked around this view, we've made some observations and taken some notes. let's go back. In every 360-degree photo, you'll find up in the top left corner a back arrow. Go ahead and click that. It will return you to this view. Keep poking around, making observations, and when you're ready to dig, you click on the locus that you've been assigned to. This will take you to your excavation units. It will open up another tab in your browser. You can always get back by clicking on the last tab in your browser. So here we are. This is where Jason will be excavating. And you'll notice that he has 3 test units that he has to excavate. They've been placed on the landscape here. So you'll each have an excavation area like this in your locus, and you'll have 3 test units to excavate. Clicking on each test unit will open up another box, and you can begin digging. Okay, here's our excavation unit, and you'll note that there are artifacts to uncover at each of these magnifying glass icons. So you're going to click on a magnifying glass, and that will open up or reveal to you the artifact that you just excavated, as though you just found it in your screen. In this case, we found some bottle glass. And this is where you need your artifact catalog handy, either printed out right next to you on your desk, or maybe on the other side of your screen. And this is how we fill it out. Here we are in our site context column, and it's asking me what team I'm in. This is going to be the same for your entire catalog. In this case, we're part of the hospital team, and it asks us what locus. Here we're B. Then it asks us what test unit. Well, we're in test unit number 1. Remember, I clicked on the icon for number 1, and it said locus B, unit 1. Okay, here we are with our artifact. And this is bottle glass. Quantity. It says that I found 32 pieces. Sounds like a lot. Okay, category, classification. This is where you come in. You have to come up with your own classification system. Think about what your research question is. What would be a classification system that would make the most sense? There's no right or wrong here, and you'll each come up with a different classification system, but it will make sense to you as you move forward. That's fine. And then any notes that I want to make. Well, I made some observations here when I was analyzing this. It looks like some of the glass was burnt. I'll just make a note of it here. Now I can close this artifact and move on to my next artifact. And I'll just keep filling this out for this unit. When I'm done discovering all the artifacts in this unit, I can close this tab and return to my locus and move on to test unit number 2, do the same thing, and test unit number 3. So you're all going to do this now. You'll complete your artifact catalog form and then hang on to it because we're going to use it during a synchronous session this afternoon where you'll all compare your notes as part of a team and try to answer your research questions. Good luck.